and Elder Jonathan Gatera. And today, as I mentioned before, today's afternoon program is going to be centered around financial management in the light of the Bible. Not just financial management, but financial management in the light of the Bible. As Christians, it's great to know practical things that are happening in our world, but it's even better to relate them to the Bible and to our faith, because at the end of the day, we're Christians, and these things must be applied to our faith, or at least must be inspired by our faith. Elder Benjamin and Elder Jonathan have, I think, over 15 years of experience in the finance industry. Individually, and collectively, you can do the math. So they have a lot of lessons for us. They have a lot of insights for us. So let's pay attention and let's ask as much as we can. We're going to start our program today with the hymn 330, Take My Life and Let It Be. And I'll invite the choristers to help us as we start. Thank you.
Can you rise as we sing this song? Hymn 330. Take my life and let it be. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to Thee. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of Thy love, at the impulse of Thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for Thee. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King, always only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from Thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my will and make it Thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is Thine own, it shall be Thy royal throne, it shall be Thy royal throne. Take my life, my Lord, I pour at Thy feet, His treasure store. Take myself, and I will be ever only all for Thee, ever only all for Thee.
Thank you. You may have a seat. For those on Zoom, on the Zoom platform, I would encourage you to please post your questions on the chat. I'll be logged in, so I'll see your questions as they come in, and we can address them. And then for those in person, you can just write it down, or just wait until the two sessions are complete, and then we'll have a session for questions and answers. So maybe prior to inviting our first panelists for today, it's interesting to note that there are two topics which are mentioned the most in the Bible. and I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to guess which ones those are. So, two topics which are mentioned the most in the Bible. Maybe the first one. Let's take a guess. Just take a wild guess. Which topic do you think is mentioned the most in the Bible? Yes. Death of Christ. Okay. Anyone else? Yes. Money. Anyone else? Love. Okay. Anyone else? All right. So, two of the topics mentioned the most in the Bible, okay, are prayer and money. So our elder was right. Prayer and money. So it must be pretty significant for it to be mentioned in the Bible quite often, right? So it's in that context that we'd like to have this session today. And we're going to invite Elder Jonathan to give us a preamble on the topic. And then after that, Elder Benjamin will follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon. When Bob was saying that we are old enough in this church, I just remember that when I looked around, I must have participated in the weddings of your parents, most of you. So, no, I mean, Bob, at least the mom of Bob was my classmate. Your mom was my classmate. So even others I see, wedding of your dad, Ruben. So I'm old enough, so I know everybody here. At least you grew up when I was here. I'm happy for that. Now, I need to thank the leader of the education department for having thought about me. But the topic she proposed is very wide. You can do a PhD in this, personal finance management. But we shall try to see how we can focus on it, and then we bring it in the light of who we are as Christians and more so as Adventists. I guess on this side, you are okay with the sun? Okay. It's fine. Now, when we talk of finance management, it's very old. It is an old topic, as we are going to see even in the Bible. We have some practical examples. My elder Benjamin will be covering it. But the rationale or the importance of learning this is not only for people outside the church, but even church members need to know about this. And actually, we should be the first, because we learn about stewardship. As Bob was mentioning, we learn a lot of has been covered about money, how to manage funds. So if you want to be a steward, you need to know how to manage funds, not only your own money, but even public money. At the end of the day, we are ambassadors of Christ. When you know how to handle your own funds, you can even be trusted to manage people's funds, and you come out triumphant, or you be an exemplary. And people may turn up to know who is this person, who is trustworthy, who is inyangamugayo. You know that term? And at the end of the day, you find people really coming back to Christ. Now, personal finance. It's in simple terms, it's the management of money and financial decisions. Here I try to go slow. Money, financial decisions are two different things. For your person or for a family. This includes budget, how you do your budget, personal budget, family budget. How do you investment? You do the investment. How you plan for your retirement. You may think this is too early. even you, when you are just you start the job today, you need to think of your retirement, the first thing. So you need to plan for it. Also, how do you plan for eventualities, things that we are not aware of? This is how you come up with your autocritic in terms of how you spend. Because this is all about whatever you earn, how do I budget for its expenditure? Because in a nutshell, it's just how do I manage my expense account? If you manage how to do with your expense account, others will just come, because if you don't spend anyhowly, if you don't, you make sure that whatever you get, there is a plan on how you're going to make use of it. That's the starting point of having personal finance management. Now, you may think that maybe you are too young as you just graduate, or you are just a A-level leaver. Actually, this should start when you are still young. When your dad gives you pocket money, when you're going to a boarding school, you don't spend it in the first week. You make sure that at least by the end of the quarter or 3 months before you go back home, there is cash flow that will maintain your level or how you need to survive in the boarding school. I can see there are still young people here who might be earning some pocket money from their parents. Now, don't think that you are too young to manage finance, because you might find that it might be too late when you have lost your money, and when you have lost it, it is gone. So whatever stage you are in, you must have an excellent plan for how you personalize your expenditures. And this is very essential, how you manage and how you plan your investment, savings, expenses, income generation, and other personal financial activities. Now, it may sound more of like academic definition, but we need to look at it even from the context of Christianity. Because most of Christians know that they need to save and invest for retirement, for some reasons. But of course, you find people who find it difficult because they think that, why should I invest for a distant, uncertain future when I am a Christian? I believe in God. God will take care of it. No, God also has given us intellect, has given us knowledge. So you may not get whatever resource you get, you spend it because you are a Christian, you think God will take care of you. He has given you understanding of how it needs to be a good steward from your own perspective, but also to the surrounding. I think my brother Benjamin will be talking about some practical examples, but all of you, I know you know the story about Egypt, when the Egyptian, the time of Pharaoh and Joseph. You remember when the king had a dream? There would be 7 years of famine. First 7 years of prosperity, then 7 years of famine. What did the king, when the king called for his advisors, you know how they planned in order to overcome the 7 years of famine? There was a clear financial management plan which was done by a God-fearing person, which means that we too, there is nothing wrong to plan how you go about your future. Especially, I'm talking of retirement because for the experience I've had, I managed a pension fund for about almost 4 years. And it's very, really touching and very, should I say, when you see someone who has not prepared for the retirement, and when it comes to the age of retirement, you don't have anything, you have not saved anything. It really pains when you see someone who has worked and has not saved anything, and time for him to get out of work people cry. And we too have an advantage now of knowing these things and starting planning ahead of time. Now, but there is also a verse I like in the Bible. I don't know how, maybe many of you were born just from the town here. Do you know what we call bimonyo in Kinyarwanda? This guy from Muiza doesn't know Ichimonyo. Who knows Ichimonyo? Even if you don't know, my goodness. Okay, yes, Ichimonyo or ant, let me call them ants. Having seen them how they work tirelessly, when they are trying to gather food, because maybe some dry season is coming, and the proverb says these things are very small, but they're very extremely wise when especially they are storing up food for future. Now, what about us? What about who at least were people who we say that we have double chances? We have gone through school, we are Christians. At least we need to be exemplary in whatever we do. So finance management actually is just how do you plan your future to avoid being dependent, or let me call it, maybe use a hard term, to be a burden to people. Haven't you seen some people who really become burdens to people when they are not, they are physically fit? They have intellect, though they could not have gone to school, but they are physically fit. They can work, but they become a nuisance to the society. And it hurts me more when it is a Christian or an Adventist who becomes a burden to the society or to the families. Yet we have whatever you earn, if you plan it properly, save whatever small you think, whatever you save today, we are going to see some practical examples, it becomes it rewards. It rewards. Now, there's some reason why we need good personal finance management. First of all, to sustain your lifestyle. Let me repeat this. When you see, for us Adventists, we have got a lifestyle that is biblical, and which does not, if we follow it, we don't even need to go for, of course, diseases come here and there, but when you have a kind of lifestyle that is according to the Bible, to achieve it is not expensive. It requires you just to plan for it. What do I buy from the market? Do I buy essential? Do I have things that are beneficial? Because sometimes when you earn money, for those who are salaried, you start spending like gaspillage, that is wasteful. You buy even things you had not planned for. When a visitor comes, you just buy things that have not been on your plan. We need to have a lifestyle as Christians, as Adventists, that is fit for our own health, but also for our own future as Christians. Now, this one, when you have, first of all, you know the lifestyle you want to live, then you plan for it according to how much you earn. You don't, by the way, don't think that to achieve that you need a lot. It's simply because it requires you to have bright ideas on how you are going to go about your basic needs. So, we need to understand where the source of income can sustain the lifestyle that we need to achieve as Adventists. This lifestyle, by the way, may sound as if it's for people who are well-to-do, who are healthy, who are wealthy. No, even there is where we grew up from in the village. At least the homes of Adventists were known for two things: smartness, Even if you have one cloth, it is always clean. No kugira gahunda. Kugira gahunda, I don't know how to make it in a well organized. People, if they want somebody in the village to lead a kind of a community maybe function, they look for Adventist. But abantu bagira gahunda. Then their homes were very neat, not because they have much, and on top of that, burden. They are not burden to the community. They know how to manage their few resources without burdening the communities. Niko Adventist babagaho. I don't know today how it is, but we should be emulating that. At least in a community, they know umuntu ari organized, akora ibintu byo kuri gahunda, smartness. Even if you have one cloth, I know, they always, Friday evening is clean, ironed, and after Sabbath, on Sunday, people come to borrow your shirt. So that thing is not because you have gone through different levels of education. It's just that discipline. It requires not only personal discipline, but also it goes with how you manage your finances. Abantu kuza kuguza amafaranga iwawe kandi utabarusha amafaranga. It's because you have that discipline on how you spend your money. So the lifestyle, Adventist lifestyle, that we should emulate should be one of the things that we need to achieve when you start planning your personal finance management. It is important to have a good personal finance management plan, and as a result, you know how to control your money. And most people encounter personal issues and even experience some turmoils because they allowed their money to take over their decision. This is very embarrassing when you get money and money dictates what to buy and what to spend on. It is you. Whatever money, how much do I spend on this? What are essentials? So let not money be the one taking your decision. Another reason why we need to have personal finance management, it is important we need to properly organize our spending and savings. These two, I'm taking the two together because, saving goes in hand with how you spend. So if you spend extravagantly, you don't save. And by the way, proper personal finance management, we need to keep track of our expenses. So don't spend as if just because and you start, no. I know maybe for the ladies I see sure here, sometimes they make a generalized comment that when a lady has money in the bag, and she goes to the market, she can even buy things that are not on the list of what. This is not good, Mama Isaac. It's not good when you have got your salary. You need to have a list of how you're going to the expenses. You don't spend on something you have not planned for. Even if it is just you see it, wait a bit and ask yourself, what would be the alternative? Because spending just because of spending is not healthy. So other than spending it, you'd better save it. So we need to spend on essentials, and we need to prioritize savings over expenses. So because we spend it, it's gone. So the advice here, we need to spend or to prioritize savings over expenses. Now, another reason, we need to have a clear financial goals. Where do we want to go? Especially you who are still young. Probably we are talking this, we might not have really gone through the same stages, but at least for you who are still young, we need to have at least a clear financial goal. Where do I want to go with the little I earn? By the way, this is not only for salaried people. Even when you get your uncle, who gives you money, you don't spend it because you have given it, it has been given to you. You need to educate yourself. So we need to assess our priorities. What are my priorities? Where can I, at least if I ask you, I'm sure at least for you probably, you will be good stewards, better than ourselves. But what are your priorities? You can figure out what matters most on the list, and then you make a list. Then this, even if you don't have the enough, of course in economics, what we learn in economics, resources are always scarce. You will never have enough money. Never. You never have enough money. But at least when you start saving early enough, it will help you to make sure that you can forego some of the things on the list because you want to have a goal where you need to reach. Of course, you find some of you say you're a graduate, you will get married, you will need a home, you will need a car. You will here in town moving around without cars. Of course, it might look luxury, but it is a necessity. But I underline comfortable retirement. If you can learn anything from this afternoon, whatever list you make, underline comfortable retirement. You need to retire comfortably. Young people who are here. Because when you reach the age of retirement, that's the age when a lot of even the old age diseases come in, and you don't need to be to be a burden to people. By the way, these days even young people, they no longer. In the old days, we used to think that old people, their children will take care of them, but these days, we don't know. The old people, they take them in the other, how do you call the other houses? Huh? So other than being taken, that you need to have your plan now, your retirement. So clear goals, retirement, education for your children. Mwiza. You need to start even, I know you don't have a child, but you need to plan for the education of your children now. For you are lucky, your parents have been struggling to make you go through the good schools, but by the time you have your own children, education will be so expensive. I can guarantee this. I don't know how you're going to make it. We have been struggling, but by the time you reach, your children go to the kindergarten, I don't know how much it will be costing you. So you need to start now. Otherwise, it will be catastrophic. Or else you have only one kid. So all these things are very crucial these days. So education for your children, medical insurance. You need to plan it now. Medical insurance, some emergencies, periods of unemployment. Now, tell me, these days, iyo mubona mwese muzabona akazi. No, don't laugh. This is a reality. So, imagine during the period of unemployment, who will be sustaining you? And these things have happened. During the lockdown, we have noticed it. Haven't you seen it? Cyangwa mwe ntabwo mwabibonye. Total lockdown, your dad, your mom are not going to work, and you need to survive. Ibi bintu, they all require to have a clear financial goals. Where shall I be? Ntabwo ari ukuvuga ngo we deny the providence of God, but God has given us the intellect to think before we get into these challenges. Now, another thing you need to do to check your budget, especially ladies. Ziko ladies, you rely much on your husbands, but these days, it might be maybe 50-50, I don't know, or it may be, I'm not scaring you, but the reality is, the future we are going is not all that smooth. It's no longer smooth. So we need to know, how am I spending my income without relying on my partner or what? Because here, what I'm saying, your partner may bring his portion, your portion, and then you plan accordingly. How do we budget or make this budget of ours to make sure that it is sustained? So budget, spending, how you spend your income, and when you spend, the first thing you should be, how much do I save before even spending? Now, here when you say to check your budget, there are some essentials that we can't do without, especially here in town. Monthly expenses that we always face, including rent. If you don't have a house, your own, ushobora no kuba ari iyawe ariko ufitemo umwenda, loan. So rent, these are monthly constant expenses that you will have to have on the list. But before that, yes, we have rent, electricity, umuriro nawe usigaye uhenze, gas, ntabwo dutekesha amakara, n'amakara asigaye ahenze, telephone, uko muhamagara ziriya airtime n'ibiki byose, that's also very expensive. Water, amazi ya wasakare, very expensive. Noneho property tax, imisoro y'imitungo itimukanwa, do you know how it is expensive? Mushaka kuba mutabizi ariko your parents know. Food, of course, niba udafite aho uhinga, udafite aho usarura, ariko nabyo it is cost. Debt, cyangwa loan, ya myenda navugaga. Insurance, medical insurance. Then education for your children. Of course, recreation, you are still young. Mukeneye kugira time for recreation. All these are the list, just a list of the necessities, especially for people who are dwelling here in town. But apart from all this, on the list should come savings. Before you even think of paying that rent, paying the electricity, paying for gas, telephone, water, tax, food, transport, all this, the list should first come, how much do I save? Kuko saving is necessity. And of course, when you save, you can do the investment. Now, I might be the things that we need to be, at least for you who are here in your classes. I try to be in between for those who have gone through finance classes, but even those who have not been in that field. But there's what usually in the management classes we call to be smart. That word smart, you know what it is. Those who have done management, you know that what smart means? Your goals to be what? Specific, measurable, achievable. I don't want to go into this because it is more of academic. But again, when you are smart, all these things, they come when you are already prepared. Both mind, but also capacity to do it. Now, let me be clear here. These things I'm talking about, I'm not just being academician, but it is also biblical. My colleague is going to talk about that. But saving for the future needs is biblical. And you might be surprised that saving is actually encouraged in the Bible. There are several texts in the Bible which talks about why we need to save, but also saving honors God, because you don't save for purely selfish. No, you save even to help others. In the case we know in different texts in the Bible. Now, I don't want to be too long. I shall give you time for discussion, but before I sit down, there is something that I need to talk about. We usually don't stress it, but it's equally something very difficult for us, a debt, imyenda. Mujya muguza, barimo atangira kuguza. Umwenda, the debt can make you sleepless when you got a debt and you have no means of paying it. So as young people, you should avoid debt like you avoid what? Actually, Ellen G. White called it cancer. How you fear cancer, you should be also fearing debt. Debt, you take it when really it is a must to take it and you are in capacity to pay it. Otherwise, of course, the Bible doesn't strictly prohibit debt, but it is a form of bondage. When you have a debt, it's a kind of it's a bondage contract. So, in whatever we do, the finance management, personal finance management, you need to have all the priorities, and the first priority to save just for all the future eventuality to talk about. But in whatever we do, let us to find a way how to avoid debt. And to avoid it is to plan accordingly, to have that personal finance planning in order to see how you can do without. And it requires to save and to invest. So there is what we call correlation between overspending and too much debt and low savings rate. This is just a economic class. In economics, we say when you overspend, you tend to have too much debt because you borrowed in order to spend, and you have low savings rate. This is just a simple economic correlate. I mean, it's something which is clear. So when you avoid overspending, because if you overspend, it will lead you to too much debt, and you will have nothing to save. And you will remain in that bondage of debt, which is not good for a Christian. So, in the context of saving, debt comes as a cost. Because the money which you use to pay for the debt, of course, goes to the creditor, it doesn't really help you anything. So, in as much as we need to have a kind of financial freedom, we need to be sure that whatever we do, we prioritize saving, we save more money. The spending list should be checked all the time. And the main reason behind our inability to manage our finance is just poor planning. And as Christians, as stewards, we should not take things, no, we should always be ahead of this. So, knowing how to secure our financial well-being is one of the most important things that we need in our life. So, whatever we plan, if we plan to be good citizens, to reach, of course, our destination is heaven, but in whatever we do, if we want to have financial well-being, we need to do things. So one thing that in life is to have a wealthy family, abana bawe, muryango wawe, uri well planned, nubwo waba ubona bikeya ariko wihagazeho. if that discipline in spending, and you don't become a burden. So, no matter how much or little money you get, the important thing is to educate ourselves how we need to save and invest the little we can possibly have. So let me stop for now here, then we shall proceed with my colleague. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elder Jonathan, for setting the ground. Good afternoon, all. You seem tired. Good afternoon. So, for me, I'm a bit worried because Jonathan has talked about the dangers of debt. And one of my objectives this year is to give big money in debt. Actually, more than maybe 300 billion in debt. So, when he's teaching people not taking debt, so I'm a bit worried, but I'll teach you how to take debt in a good way, when you can make good use of that money and multiply it. It's very important to learn about financial management, because most of the conflicts that we see in our families, you remember that I'm in charge of family life, and I do a lot of research about that. They have their origin into debt or financial management. Actually, among the top three reasons of divorce, money comes among the first two. So it's very important, even at a young age, to know how to manage our money. The court cases, here we don't have many people from the judiciary, will tell you that most of the cases they find in courts are related to money in a way. Some of the health conditions that our medical doctors deal with relate to money. Actually, I understand that on the checklist, when you go and you think that you have high blood pressure, one of the things they will ask you is, do you have debt? So financial management is very critical, and we need to know how to manage our funds quite well. So I just wanted to know if here I have only graduates or people who are still at the university. Do we still have students in the audience here? Students at the university? Yes. Good, we have a good number of them. Do we have people who are starting their careers, working somewhere? Okay. I can see we have many people here who are working. I think Elder emphasized on the fact that we need to have a good discipline while managing our funds or money. But I wanted to come on the other side of this and ask you, how do we get money? How do we get money? Yes? We work. Thank you very much. We present our skills and we show what we can do with our skills, and someone will buy a portion of our skills and will ask us to apply our skills to do some job. So it's very important as part of financial management to know our earning assets. So that ability of transforming our skills into a job well done, it's what is called earning asset. So our earning asset, here I'm talking to the youth, is our knowledge or skills we acquire from the university, from the books we read. And this is very important because we need to care about that earning asset and know how we can increase our skills so that we can earn more money. And the more we have more money out of our skills, we can be independent and not depend on the society. So this is something very important. One writer was saying that the earning ability is your ability to get results that someone will pay you for. So if you want to get more money, you need to sharpen your skills. Yes? And that capacity represents more than 90% of your value in terms of earning money. So one of the smartest expenditure, I know he has talked about electricity, water, and what, but there is another expenditure that I want you to encourage to take is to spend in investing in yourself, buying books or getting subscriptions on good magazines so that you can increase your earning ability. So there are practical steps that help people to increase their wealth, if I may say. The first one is a decision to be excellent, and he alluded to it, in what we do. How can we become excellent? It's by investing in ourselves. The second practical step is to know what we are good at and excel in that area. I think among the topics we're discussing with Sister Esther sometime, it was about career guidance and other stuff. Maybe she will have another slot for this. But we need really even to know what we are good at and try to excel in those areas. The other step, which is actually like the one I said before, it's about developing a continuous learning plan. So all these help us to increase our earning capabilities. So I just wanted to start by saying that we need to know where we get money from. If we have a capital, we want to invest in a business, if we're business people, that's good. But again, we need to know that if we are employees, we need to sharpen our skills so that we can increase our earning capabilities. The other thing I wanted to talk about before I go into some practical steps, as mentioned before, I won't be long so that we will have enough time for discussions. It's peer pressure. I think he didn't talk about peer pressure, and I think that's another source of spending, and at a time it can be dangerous. You know, there is a race you cannot win, the race of comparison. At the times when we are comparing ourselves with other people, we want to live someone else's life without knowing what's behind the life of that person. I will never forget some words we read in our quarterly lessons. Last time when I had a chance to speak here, I came back on this and I will say them again. The author said that most of the time we buy things we don't need. First of all, we buy things we don't need. With money we don't have, we borrow to buy those things that we don't need. And to impress people we don't love. We buy things we don't need. Yes, with money we don't have, that we borrow either from friends or from banks. And just to impress people we don't love. Kwemeza abantu. I remember some time back, I received someone where I was working from who wanted a loan for the wedding. And he wanted not little money, a big loan for the wedding. And he was really under pressure. I asked that person, why are you taking debt for a wedding? Why can't you do something small that you will be able to fund, to pay for? But that person was adamant, telling me, no, I need to do something smart where people will come and say that this wedding was perfect. That person took a loan repayable over 4 years, and unfortunately, that person lost his job after 2 years. Imagine he spent some time trying to pay a loan without an income, and for money he spent just to please people one afternoon. So do you see the dangers of borrowing when you don't have a smart plan, as he said? So peer pressure is real, and it can affect people at all ages. Please, let's stop the rest of competition and be ourselves, be genuine, and do according to our means. I know there are some of the examples that I can give which are not popular. In my family, I always fight with my young siblings when they are going for weddings, and we're discussing about giving food at 4 p.m. So I say, someone left home at 12 after eating one, and you have a budget of 3 million for people who will go back home at 6. So, but you are spending money that you don't have. But this is debatable. I know most of the young people will not agree with me, but maybe food for thought. Who needs food at 4 p.m.? Frankly speaking. Yeah, people came after eating at, having their lunch at 12 or 1, and at the time at 3 p.m., you have Karisimbi catering for 4 million, and you'll see that most of the people will not even eat that food, but you are out pocket and you have even borrowed to buy that food. Why? These are the things that we need to, as Christians who have the right values, we need to challenge some of the practices that we see around. And so my additions were only 2. Our earning capabilities, which is increasing our skills. We need to be smart, as Elder said. And you know, at the times we go for interviews, we get 10 candidates and we can't find someone who can fit in that position because people are not smart enough. But initially, we used to know that the Adventists are very smart and they were very bright. So let's pursue increase in knowledge rather than looking for money. When you do the other way of trying to get rich quickly, you can go into trouble. But when you increase your knowledge, coupled with discipline, God will always reward you. So coming back on the practical steps that Elder talked about, I think the first one, as far as financial management is concerned, is to set priorities. What do you want to achieve in life? You know, some of you who will get time to read some books, you will see the power of focus. When you are focused on something and you want to get there, you have your priorities, you can get there. So know what you want and work towards that. And the Bible teaches this in Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27. Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27. The Bible says, prepare your outside work, make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterward build your house. So prepare, get to know your priorities, and know what you want to pursue. Don't take everything at a time. The other practical principle is to make a budget. He talked about it. You remember the words of Jesus in Luke where he said, if you want to build a house, you need to sit down and do the numbers. Otherwise, you'll not be able to achieve that, and people will laugh at you. So that's found in Luke 14, verse 28 up to 30. So those were the words of Jesus, asking us to do our numbers, make a budget. You will agree with me that we learned a lot during this pandemic. There is a reason, one reason he gave of making a budget. In a good budget, there needs to be a line for savings. You might say today that you are earning little and you have no room to save, but know that even that small amount, that small income can go away. So how will you survive in that case? So we need to have a budget, and with that budget, we need to have really a savings line. And with this savings line, it's always advisable to have an emergency fund. You know, sickness does not give a notice before coming. You know, you can get a family issue that needs money, so an emergency fund. Usually the best practice is to have 6 months income set aside. I know it's a challenge, but that should be a minimum, because when COVID started, we thought it was a 1 or 2 months issue and that will be gone. But surprisingly, 2 years down the road, we're still dealing with it. So an emergency fund maybe of 6 months, it's advisable. Let's at least have in our minds to have that. I want to come back again on avoiding debt. You know, the Bible says that we are slaves to our lenders. I don't know if you read some of the documents we give you as bankers to sign. Actually, you are not even allowed to renovate your houses when you have given to me as a collateral. In that document, it's written, you have no right on your property once you have given it to the bank. So as much as you can avoid debt, unless it's for production, and you are sure that you will increase your resources by taking debt, but as much as you can, at personal level, live within your means and actually try to save with what you have. We need to invest and diversify our investments. Don't put everything, all eggs in one basket, as it's always said. And this is biblical, actually. If you read in Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 2, you will see that the Bible teaches us to invest into many categories of assets. Chapter 11, verse 2. Give a serving to 7 and also to 8, for you don't know what evil will be on earth. So here, the idea is don't put everything. If you have an income, don't invest it in one asset, because if it's a plot, please have some cash, a savings account, or diversify. You can buy other instruments, but don't put all your money into one asset, because you don't know what can happen to that category of assets. That's what the Bible tells us. This is for the Jonathan and others, because the majority here are still young. It's about reducing risk as you age. You can take risk when you are still young, but as you go up, it's advisable to start reducing risk, because you don't have enough resources to carry too much risk on yourself, because the age in itself, maybe health conditions are changing, and in the end, you don't want to retire with debt. At a certain age, you need really to start considering reducing your debts. And the other one that we find in Proverbs 21, verse 5. Proverbs 21, verse 5. It's about financial planning, what we have been saying here. The plans of the diligent lead surely to plenty, but those of everyone who is hasty surely to poverty. So if you don't plan diligently, you will surely end into poverty. That's the essence of having financial management. These are practical and biblical teachings, and we need really to understand. As Bob mentioned in his introduction, actually I think money and sin are the most popular subject in the Bible. You will be surprised that money matters come more than prayer and everything in the Bible, because they are serious matters. And when we're learning some economic lessons before, we're told that money can establish strong ties or tie down good friendship. So we really need to be considerate when we talk about money. But I want to advise you to always increasing your earning capabilities by being smart. And the Bible encourages us to seek wisdom, and God will not withdraw anything from us when we seek Him. So I think we'll need to give you some time. I think time is fast spent. I want to conclude by Hebrews 13, verse 5. whatever we do, let's rest assured that God is with us. And once we walk into his way, he will surely bless us. So let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Amen.
Thank you, our elders, Jonathan and Elder Benjamin. We are now at the point where we'll receive comments from yourselves. I'm sure there's a lot of good points which were mentioned from different angles of finance and financial management. We'd like to thank our sister Mama Ian for giving us this opportunity. It's very holistic. We've gotten two holistic versions of finance from what I would call, I think, an asset manager and a financier. So it's up to us to now ask them questions that we might have personally. Perhaps maybe you might have heard Elder Benjamin say 6 months, you should save 6 months of your income. But maybe you might want to ask, how do you do that? I know by law, banks are required to do that, but personally, can we actually save 6 months of our income? Maybe not. Should we save more? Should we save less? Those are the questions that we should ask to get more clarity. So I'll open up the floor. I don't see any questions on our group. So we'll start with the questions here in person. So I open up the floor. If you have any question, feel free to, yes, Enoch.
Thank you, elders, for the advice you've given us. I want to ask about, you didn't mention about returning tithe and offering as far as personal financial management is concerned, and I want to hear from you on that point. Then, I also work in the finance industry, and I want to ask from your experience as Adventist men, how do you go about not compromising your integrity, and yet you want to grow in your career? Because sometimes you might lose opportunities and chances of growing because maybe you're strict, maybe people cannot find a way around you, you're not flexible. Maybe they say you are, they say, ngo ufunze mu mutwe, such things. Then the last point, about budgeting. The good thing you said, maybe we start with savings before anything else. You say, I will save this much. But the truth is, in this life we live in Chigari, there's some time where you can fail to save. Maybe because you earn little, but we all know that even the little you have, you can save. But how would someone manage to cut off maybe some expenses that are not fixed, like rent, and maybe they try to decrease the variables? Maybe you can advise us on that, and then I think maybe that would help us. Thank you.
Should we address one question at a time, or should we have all the questions and then? I think we can address a question as it comes. That way it's relevant. So.
Thank you, brother. You didn't tell us your name, but who? Enoch, all right. You know, returning tithe, we just took it for granted that the money we are talking of is your money. Tithe is not your money. So, whatever you do, deal with what we call the money you are authorized to spend. But the tithe is God's money, and actually it will not appear because you first pay it, then you deal with what the rest. Now, the question of compromising with integrity. It's a big challenge, I know, because many of you face it. But the truth of the matter, when you stand your ground, they will respect you. I can give you this testimony. When you stand your ground, but don't compromise yourself. Because sometimes you just say you are an Adventist because you want to avoid some. But when the truth when your character really doesn't prove that you are an Adventist. But do you know that just one time, let me give you just an experience. One time, I was called in an office, and they are telling me that, we want you to serve in this capacity. So the first thing I said, please, with all due respect, I don't think I can manage that because it will conflict with my belief. And the person I was talking to said, actually, we decided on your CV because we know you are an Adventist. So I had no choice. And this was clear because, and whenever there is a meeting or whatever, or I would get all calls from all my supervisors, Fridays, they say, we want to talk to you before Sabbath witangira. So, and actually, even on this Friday, yesterday, somebody called me in office. I said, please, can I talk to you? I'm sure your Sabbath has not yet started. So if you stand your ground, they will respect you for that. So don't be flexible. You talked of don't be flexible in as far as you are religious. Don't compromise. Let the opportunity go. God will provide. Now, budgeting, you say failure to save because you are earning little. I told you, in the first list on your expenditures, let be saving before even you spend it. It is a discipline. It is a discipline. Kuko sinzi uburyo nabisobanura ariko uzayibona ugeze mu bibazo. And we are talking out of experience. Do you know that, let me tell you one thing. Where I'm working currently, people who earn babona amafaranga makeya. You know these people twita abadaso murabazi. Abadaso ngira ngo uhembwa menshi ntarenze 40,000 ku kwezi. Kandi umudaso usanga afite umugore, afite abana biga, afite inzu. We have got a group of these people who have said, please, before you pay me my salary, take 5,000 out of my salary and save it. And this, whatever he plans for expenditures, it is when he has already saved. And we have got a lady, actually, who is a daso. During this time of COVID, when, of course, somehow all of us, even those who were somehow caught unaware. And then one day when I had discussion with her, Unfortunately, during COVID, there was also a lot of rain in some places around town. And her house was demolished by rainwater. Because she had saved some money, she could even just say, I will not, of course, she requested back her savings. Imagine if she had not saved. And then from the saving, of course, she used it as like a collateral for her salary advance. And then because, she came trying to take out the money, we said, this money is not enough for you. We advised her, let us help you to make this saving of yours to act as a collateral, and then you get some funds from SACCO and the advance on your salary, and then you finalized your house. Actually, she did it, and then she renovated, and she had additional room where she's at least renting 30,000, and she stays in another room, and her savings have saved her. This is just practical examples. I'm sure you earn more than 40,000. And the way you look, you might not be yet married. Even if you are married, ibaza ariko muyo moje, umuntu ba mumoja hembwe 40, afite umugore n'abana, yishyura minerval, and the rest, gas we mentioned and what have you, and they survive. And you two who are seated here, who even more than that, what you earn, you believe in God. And you think I don't buy your idea. So better start saving and stop blaming God for having not blessed you more. He will bless you more. Thank you. Maybe, Elder, do you have addition?
Thank you, Elder. Thank you, Enoch, for the questions. I want to come back on the question about growth and integrity. What do we call growth in the eyes of God? It's to remain faithful. Even if you're not promoted, but you remain faithful, you are growing. I have another story maybe before I go back about a colleague, a lady we were working together. She was not flexible, as you were mentioning, because she was always going by the rules. And the supervisor decided to put her aside. 2 or 3 years down the road, they needed someone with a strong character who can put things in place. They call her back with a better salary. I'm not saying that always you'll get a financial reward, but even if you don't get, I think integrity is paramount. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enoch's question kind of reminded me a situation when I just started to work. One of the bankers, the insurance staff came to us, were a group of young boys and girls who had just finished school. And because they normally go to different workplaces to attract people into saving through insurance, she talked to us. She talked to us and said, you people, you're still young. I advise you, you're young girls, because you are still young girls, and said, if you don't take this money into insurance and save it, you will start to spend it recklessly. And this is the reality. When you have a lot of money cash with you, you spend it without aim. So it's always advisable that whenever you have money, you save. Actually, it's always better that you save much more than what you want to spend, because expenditure is endless. Do you know when you have 10 clothes, you want an 11th? Do you know when you have 12 clothes, you want a 13th? Do you know when you have these nice shoes, you want like 10 pairs, and sometimes you don't even wear them? I'm talking to ladies. So it's always better that you save even much more than you can hold with your hands, because it will help you to have discipline on how you spend. It's always good to be generous. Ariko, have you seen people when they have money, cash with them? Uramubwira ataragura n'inzu, ataranubaka, you're still young. Ariko, because they are holding cash in their hands, when it's somebody's wedding, atwerera ibihumbi magana abiri. Haven't you seen such things? Okay, and I have exaggerated. But you end up, you spend recklessly, you spend without planning, you spend because you have it in your hands. So if you purpose to spend less, you can spend less. It's not about how much you have spent. It's about how you have planned to spend. So I know this also communicates to me. I'm not a perfect spender. So sometimes you're like, oh, I can go this, I do this, or maybe give this, give that. But how much do you plan to save? It's very important. And the secret is in how much you're holding in your hands. Another example I want to give is about, okay, I know Elder Jonathan talked about being a slave to the loan, but that is one way of forcefully saving. I don't know whether it communicates to some people. I need some more advice on this, but some people actually are helped by the loan to save. Some people are helped by the loan to save, especially when you have used the loan in a perfect way. Especially, this is in line with what Elder Benjamin talked about. Why are you taking the loan? Very important. So if you're taking a loan for something very productive, it's always better to do it when you're even still young. When you're what? I know you're still young, you can start to do this before you start to think about the risks and reducing the loans and all that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Esther, you're welcome. Maybe as Esther comes, we have a few questions which are coming in. We have a few questions which are coming in which we'll address after Esther. And one of them is, what should we do with our savings apart from the emergency fund? For example, how can we invest our small savings? We know that in advanced markets, maybe such as the US and Europe, most people invest in stocks and bonds and whatnot. But for those who have some of their savings, as you've mentioned, who've done it by the paper, what should they use their savings with? Should they just keep them in the bank and let the bank use their savings? Or is there another way for them to personally benefit from it at a much faster rate than they would have? So we'll address that after Esther's question.
Thanks, Bob. You should have told me a question before so that I don't have to ask. So I had also come to ask about the savings especially. It's one thing, especially as young people, sometimes you set money aside and then because you don't have a picture of what to do with the money, some things comes in that you think is more important. Maybe family, and that seems so huge, and then you get this whole chunk that you've painstakingly put aside, and then you give it to that. So it's not that you're spending aimlessly, but you do not know what to do with your savings, so you end up putting, them in the wrong places. So it would be good to have some ideas on how to invest those little monies, I should say, that we put aside. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe to start with Mama Ian. You know, to say that a loan or a debt is a forced way of saving, we don't say that taking a loan is bad. You need to take it with precaution. What am I going to use with this debt? Rather than becoming a bondage. Because you can't do without. For instance, if you want to build a house, you can't save enough to construct a house without a loan. You see? And that house, when but again, you need to take a loan that is within your capacity to pay it. And of course, taking into that there are some risks that are associated with the loan or the debt. You need to weigh both ways and see how much do I take. And if possible, if you take it, of course, my friend here is a banker, would advise you to take a long-term loan, 20 years, 25 years. Well, there are some advantages, but of course, disadvantages. I used to supervise banks, and when you look what we call non-performing loans, imyenda itishyurwa, and you find somebody who has got a loan, these guys, you know, I'm sorry to say, they are good at enticing you to take a loan. By the moment you fail to pay first month, second month, third month, they start classifying you. And when you reach what we call class 5, and of course, they are quick to sell off the collateral. And sometimes they sell it at a lower market value than the actual value of that asset. So that's the way the world is. Isi niko imeze, ntabwo izakugirira impuhwe ngo wafashe loan noneho bavuge bati rwose tumugirire impuhwe. No, they will quick come, auction the property, and then you live miserably. So it is good, take a loan when you have really studied what exactly am I going to use the loan, what how do I pay it off. Where possible, avoid it. It is an evil that we live with. Arikujiza mahigu kaishura mbere ukasaza neza. Ariko still, it comes back to my original starting point. Personal finance management. All these things you need to make a clear planning to know when shall I take a loan, how should I avoid it. You need to be sincere to yourself. Ntushaka kuimpressiona abantu nkuko fata loan y'ubukwe kandi wasanga na hano bahari. No, ntimuzabikora. Ubukwe uzabureke butaha uko bwakabaye. Bazaza let them come with what they will want to eat from your wedding. Right. Small savings. How do we go about it? Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to give you some practical way of saving, but maybe it would require another session, not from the pulpit. Kuko, I will be marketing some products. But there are several ways. Esther, find me out of here. I will give you several products where you can save that, starting with 2,000 francs. And we'll be getting a return on investment more than 11%. So let me not talk it from the pulpit. Find it another time, or you give us another time, maybe, Bob, plan a Sunday afternoon or some other time, or another time. Then we come and they give you some products where you can save without even a big challenge. I mean, it's just how do I save using if you have mobile money and the money goes to your account. At the end of the month, you get a statement, and then by the end of the year, you have a return on investment more than 11% net, which is, so find another time for that. Those who have a problem of saving small amount, see me after here. All right? That's the same question I was talking about. All right? Okay. Thanks. Maybe the bank has got some other product, but let us not market our products from the pulpit. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder. Any other question coming in? Yes. Sure. I'm biased, so I can't say no.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the Education Department for organizing this wonderful session. I remember one day she was wondering, what does education do? But education is now becoming holistic in this church, because the other day we were in the family part of education with discussion with the young people. Now we are in finance. So tomorrow we shall go in another area. So thank you very much, Mama Ian. So I want to thank the finance experts that have been able to share. These are big people by the some KEC. You people, you can say KEC is a church that is privileged to have this kind of session. These are people that would be hired to come and make such a presentation, but is now free. They are consultants. So I want to thank God that we have such professional consultants who can be able to offer their expertise. Okay, there's something I wanted to comment on regarding the attitude. I'm sorry to call it the attitude. It's a kind of advice. Young people in this generation, I'm sorry, not maybe in the KEC, we are now having a problem of unemployment. It's global. Here is a young man, he has finished school, he has finished the university. He's looking for a job, 1 year, 2 years, he's jobless. And sometimes when you are jobless, even your Christian life starts now, the graph declining, because you start becoming hopeless. Others are going for salon, make their hair, nothing. Some are going somewhere, nothing. So me, the advice I wanted to give to young people, there's a tendency for young people to, okay, it's good to aim high, it's good. It's good to aim high and have a good salary starting point. But there is a tendency of young people where they refuse to get, they decline to get whatever little money that would help them earn a living. They say, I cannot go for this. So I'm trying to advise our young people who are here. For those of you who are employed, who are earning good money, well and good. But for some of you who may not be employed, or maybe have friends who are not here, who are not employed, I would advise, don't reject the offer that is coming your way. However little money that you are getting from that salary, because it is going to be a starting point. If maybe it's little money that you are earning, one, you are getting expertise in terms of experience. So your CV, which had nothing to do with working, this time if you are preparing your CV, you are updating it, that I have worked in this organization X, and if you have worked in organization X, I don't think in the CV you are preparing, you have to even to mention that I used to earn so much money. It's not mentioned. All you have to do that, have been working in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Our sister is working in Foreign Affairs. So it is going to add your CV, even if the earning is not as good enough, but at least can give you something, a starting point. Number two, it helps you also to, even if by then you are not getting even that little money, there's what we call volunteering. You just apply to an organization X, you say, I'm volunteering to work for you. So in that organization, when you are acting as a volunteer, tomorrow when an offer comes, an opportunity comes, they will say, please, why don't you apply? And then from there, get that quick employment. So that's a minimum advice I want to give you. There is this gentleman, I think he was working, I think, in some organization, I think bread making factory somewhere in Uganda. And he was, I think, doing this simple work of, cleaning? And he was a graduate. Because, here in Rwanda we are lucky, by the way. We have jobs. Jobs are still open. We still have at least some opportunities. But there are some countries where it is the thing of the past. So you have to struggle on your own. So he's a graduate, and the only job he was able to get was doing the cleaning work in some organization back in Kampala. So what happened, they didn't know, the supervisor didn't know this young man was a graduate. But when they would look at him and see how he's trying to conduct himself, said, this guy, I think, might be learned. So one day there was, I think, an advert in the organization, and one of the supervisors encouraged him, you guy, I think you have gone to school. Have you gone to school? Yes. What level have you gone to school? He says, I'm a graduate. Hey, you are a graduate. Now there is this offer, you also submit. He submitted, and I think he became a marketing manager of that organization. And later, there was also another offer somewhere. And then he had to sit for the interview and became a regional manager of this big organization, Unilever. Unilever is an international organization. So coming from sweeping, from cleaning, and become a regional manager. Why? Because he does not underrate anything. So there is a tendency of young people today who are underrating work. Say, they are paying little money. They are paying little money. You come and sleep your dad, and you take his money, you take whatever, you're asking for motor money, for motor. Every other day you are becoming a burden. So as Adventists, we don't have to be burdened. Let us not refuse or decline these offers, whether voluntary or whatever. They will do something where. Then there is one question I want to ask our experts. This question is in line with our young people and the session you had the other day about planning for marriage, planning for family life. Now there is this dilemma we are having. We have our young people who don't have the means to have a family home. Maybe his or her income is limited. And then their peers, like you said, their peers are wedding every other day. They are making development. And this young lady or this young girl or young boy, he wants to be in a relationship, but then the means are not there. So I think we need also as a church, because this is now in-house, this is family. We are like now a family. Mutangana is laughing. So we don't, no, these are our children. These are our children because at the end of the day, they need to wed. But like you said, if the wedding is to be made, it doesn't have to be so much expensive. We need to educate them also to calm down. So, but we need to seek to see what we can advise these young people to make some simple weddings that are affordable. We have some young people in some countries, for them, they go to the extent of asking the young people, why are you not getting married? They say, the problem is finance. Okay. Some churches outside Kigali, outside Rwanda, maybe Kigali, outside KEC, the church leaders organize themselves. They have some kind of a package. It's not sustainable, but it might be little money. They have maybe a fund like 50,000. So they organize a simple wedding for these people. And then, of course, it's not that they are 100% unemployed. They might be earning some little money. So they get a starting point. So I think we need to get advice from our experts, how these people who want to get married and they don't have the means to get married, they are earning some little money, like Lagatera mentioned. This lady who is working as a tasso, is it tasso or whatever, tasso, he's earning like 50,000, but he has a family. I know of this other lady also some time back was calling one person. He said, now, these days I don't have this maid, and this lady is working somewhere also. She's, I think, a cleaner. She's earning like 20,000, but she's also employing. She's an employer. In other words, although she's working as a cleaner, somehow she's surviving. And she has also children. So in the little resources she's earning, at least she's able to earn a living. So in other words, there is a way we need to be educated in as far as to be simple is concerned, so that our young people who are planning to get married, whether he or she, they don't have to fear to get married. And also, in as far as earning is concerned, because there's this young man who was staying in our place, I think Bob knows him, and he had finished the university. And this young man, after finishing the university, was jobless for some time, was looking for a job, nothing, the shoes get old, is trying to deposit in different organizations. That time we used to call it Minitrap. It was Ministry of Works. So when you're having issues and every time you are looking, you are depositing, and there's no job, there's nothing. So that the shoe gets torn and old. So this young man, his fellow friends were getting wedded, they got married, and there's no job that is coming up. So psychologically, it affected him. And one day we said, now, there is a job that we have got somewhere of about 60,000. Can you go and do this work? Say, me, I cannot work. And 60,000 is very little. So he continued looking for that. He set his standards. Okay, it's good that you mentioned of the setting standards and the goals which are realistic. He wanted 300, not less than 300,000 salary, but he could never get the 300,000 salary until this young man, because of having a lot of problems, think about the friends who are coming up, who are getting wedded, who are getting houses. So psychologically it affected him. Now today he's in the village. He's a graduate. He was a very good guy, but unfortunately because his goals were so high that he could not earn start of 60,000, then he missed out. Now in the village he cannot. So the head has been affected in a way. So we need also to be realistic in as far as this is concerned. Let's get the advice from the experts. Thank you very much.
Elder, you have responded to the concern. However, unemployment is a real issue, not only here, but worldwide. And unfortunately, the situation may not be any better. It will continue to worsen. I might sound like a politician when I say you need to think deep and wide to avoid being employed. But again, for startups, it's not easy. You know, for politicians, they have started what they startup projects, startup funds for people to be self-employed. And I don't know why the church does not have maybe family life. Why don't we? And the church, by the way, has the capacity. And you have got, I don't know, it might sound not really well-researched project, but we need to think about our own family, as you mentioned, our church. Why is it that the government has got some projects that they put in place to find people who are seeking for self-employment? Why not? Why not in the, I don't know if it is in the family life or, but I throw back the ball to you, First Church Elder. Think for us, what should we do for our young people? Not to always run, because there are some risks, by the way, which go with this unemployment. And some people will end up even getting jobs where will compromise with their faith because they have no choice. And it is a challenge to the church leadership. Not to I think for me, I would throw back that this unemployment, we need to sit back, put our heads together and see what can the church do. Kuko akaziko ntagahari. And there is even a fear. There is a fear, especially for us who are 50 and above. We might be laid off. Not to be by jobless. The reason is this COVID has taught or has brought a lot of uncertainties. Do you know that even the way we do our business today is completely different from how we used to do it before COVID? Everything has been digitized. Niba twarakeneraga abakontabule batatu dukeneye umwe gusa to run just the software. No need of 3 accountants. So things might be This is a reality. Yavuze ko we are in a family. Let us be realistic. Nawe ku kazi nako mubona mwinemfaguza gashobora no kubura burundu. Yes. We are in digital world. Just the company I had, we have employed more than, to have a new system that will help people to access the services by themselves. So, nk'abakozi twakoranaga, people will lose their jobs because things are now changing. The dynamic is changing. So, elder, have a team, sit down, and see where do we don't think of government or private companies. Things are changing, and I'm sure sometimes harongera nkagarukira government even what we study. No, it comes back their career guidance you are talking of. Currently, if you see people who are, you talk of TVET, people will say, no, I will never go to TVET schools. Those are just for, I don't know how we call it. But the reality is, where will you go with your theories and what have you? Ngira ngo ni ikindi kibazo gikwiye kwigwaho. I'm telling you the truth. If you do these managerial sciences that we took, and you come out with your masters without how do you call this? How do you call it? These courses which my colleague is here. He's an CCA. If you don't have a CCA, even if you have a master's in what, even if with distinction, he can tell you. They want professional courses. Don't think of you have a master's in what? Everybody has got a master's. So church pastor, a little church elder, ikibazo cha joblessness and unemployment, it comes back to you. Have a church board or a group of 3 people, 4 people, see if there is a way out. Yes, ni your fund kuchitabaho from if it can help. Now, the issue of planning for family, marriage. Harja, who standardized this issue of marriage? That the wedding of so and so, they have set up a kind of a standard that everybody should have. Who said that? Huh? Maybe, let me not sound as if I am, just ntibindeba. But the truth of the matter, we need to see, to gauge our own, why should I, if she was elected to get a husband who had a salary of 1 million per month, why should I gauge my wedding to her? Ariko ikibazo gihari no kuvuga ngo ibi byatwigishije iki? What lesson have we learned? Why should we more? Now let us be realistic to us. Ikibazo nkibagarure mwebwe mukiri batoya mushaka kwimariye. Who told you that your wedding should be in a, this other place in a Revero or some other, this very expensive site? Juru Park? Yes. Huh? No, she's laughing. Maybe that's where she has booked. Huh? You guys, well, if you have means, gusa obungubu cyo nabonye, we are going to find a way of ibyo gutwerera mwavugaga. Gutwerera according to how you see somebody's seriousness. Yes. Otherwise, it will be just no. It's not, because you can't have a wedding of 300 million when you have never even saved 300,000. And you are going, by the way, after the wedding, after that evening, bishwa ntawe uzagusura. You will be alone with your wife. Mutangira guterana amakofi. Ejo habe some issues of divorce. Kuko mwipashije muremure. Ibi bintu, simple wedding. Maybe my wife is not here. But let me tell you one thing. Ntabwo ari ukwishyira hejuru. Ariko costume narongoranye. Nari nyibitse imyaka 2. Kandi nayiguze ntarabona umugeni. It might sound that it's ridiculous. No, I had a chance. I was employed. I was working for the central bank. In 2003, I had a chance of going somewhere for a mission. And I found a good suit, a bit affordable. And I said, this suit, I cannot take it to work because they will say I am you can't. Yeah? Then I can't have it to go to church again because said, let me keep it just for a wedding. If I get a wife, well and good. If I don't, I will put it on. So I kept it for 2 years. Now, maybe let it not be like I'm diverting from what we'll be discussing. But with the time I got a fiancé, I started planning for a wedding before even we could do the money for a wedding. I wish Claude and Shimiman would be here. Claude Shimiman was my treasurer when I was doing my wedding. And actually the money he collected, I never used it for wedding. He just kept it and he gave it to me after wedding because things had been planned for over 2 years' time. Now, but this is a reality we need to plan, not to rush into weddings, which are extravagant. In one of the schools around here. And he was there. Young people, let's plan accordingly. Don't rush into a wedding ceremonies which are extravagant, which are necessary, and tomorrow you are going to stay with your wife, your husband, without these other people who have been cheering you up. And by the way, people will pledge and they will never honor their pledges. I guarantee you. They will pledge just to make people, and the pledges will never come. Don't take a loan for a wedding. This should be prohibited. Please, I urge you honestly. If you love your fiancé, where there is love, everything else is just complementary. All right? So, elder, let us teach our young people to make simple weddings. No need of inviting 300 people for what? I doubt. All right? Why don't you? By the way, COVID was somehow a bit, let me say, good. 15 people from which side? And the people had very wonderful weddings in a room. And by the way, they saved. Should we pray again for another COVID? No. But at least assume there is COVID-19. And then you invite people according. The measures put in place for COVID, let them continue in terms of managing our expenditures. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Elder. Maybe another lingering question that, another side of the argument that we haven't had time to look at. We've talked about people who are earning salaries, and I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that probably the church should do something about putting together a fund for those who are planning to be self-employed. which brings me to my next question. For those who, we have a lot of entrepreneurial people in this congregation, and for those who are just starting and try to do something creative and want to maybe build a business, it may not be the next Microsoft or Amazon, but perhaps they want to use their creative skills to do something. Maybe Brother Elder Benjamin can tackle this. What's the best way to go about it? I know you've mentioned debt, and it might not be too good to ask for money you're not going to use productively. So let's say you're going to use it productively. How can a 20-something-year-old or a 30-something-year-old go about it? What are the best instruments out there? Maybe without going beyond the boundaries of the Sabbath, how can you advise us to look for money in order to start a business, or maybe grow a business, but that's not so big in size? Elder Benjamin.
Thank you, Bob, for that question. Maybe before I answer that, I just wanted to come back on the issue of unemployment. I've seen that we use social media, of course, for the purpose of the church. Maybe we need to find a way of sharing information about opportunities which are in the market. As a church, we are a family, but I don't know if we have a platform on which we can share information. Maybe we can use the youth one or another one, but I think among us we can get enough information about maybe some programs, and we should be able to share among ourselves if we consider ourselves as a family. Elder, maybe it's something we can think about. And some time back we used to have under, I don't know if it's a current MIFEM Dorcas, when we were growing up, we used to have some seminars to teach people about practical skills. I don't know how that has gone, but I think this was a way of empowering people and getting some skills, and at a certain point, they could get some good employment or start their own business. Coming from commenting on the issue Elder mentioned about modesty, I've seen actually among some of our colleagues who started at a very low level, they become very, very good staff, and they grow up quickly because they have gotten that resilience and purpose in their lives. I have a colleague of mine who started as a security guard, and now he's a head of department. And he had a degree, but the only option which was there at that time was security guard. Another one started as an office helper, just to carry chairs from one place or to go and destroy some papers which were not needed. And now he's heading a branch. So let's be modest, and I think God will elevate us in due course. So he mentioned about people who don't want to get employed and yet they are looking for funds. Yes, you can get a loan to start a business, but it won't be a good model unless you have your own money you are putting together, you are blending. Otherwise, it will be a challenge, but there are other schemes. As Elder mentioned, I think we can have another session. We have some other venture capital that come to put together. They can invest in your business. You come with an idea, they give you money, and they help you, even they give you some technical support to grow your business. So those schemes are there as well, but I think it's not the appropriate time to discuss this, but I think there are those kind of arrangements that can support our youth. But Elder, as a takeaway, I think we need to find a way of sharing information, even training our own people. If we rely on your experience, for example, what you have, you can train our youth and empower them. I know Elder Jonathan and others, Sister Esther, I think we have good trainers here. If we care about our people and put in place some mentorship programs, I think we can improve the rate of employment. Thank you. I think we can organize another session for that.
Thank you. Is there any other question or comment from the congregation? Yes, we have two. I think I saw Charity's hand before, and then you can come next. As Charity, you can come. Stephen, sorry. Is there anyone giving out a question or comment on Zoom? No? Okay, thank you.
Happy Sabbath. I would like to thank you for the counsel you've given. I have a small question again related to tithe and offering. There's an understanding that people can give tithe after they've solved their big expenses or like the fixed expenses, like rent, some things which you really have to do. Is that biblical?
Thank you very much, Charity. I think the Bible is clear about that. It's 10% of your income. It's not after expenses, but it's 10% of your income. And this, God is saying, I'm the one who gave you 100%. So return to me only 10% as a sign of faithfulness. So we don't need really to go around this and try to, and actually this has even a pledge from God that you will see if I will not open the floods or the gates of heaven. So you see, God is telling us, He's promising us. Let's not try to go around this. The instruction from the Bible is very clear. It's your income that you get, 10% of it before deduction of expenses. And I've never seen someone who has been faithful with God who has regretted doing so. And I want to echo David actually when saying, I've been young and now I'm old. I've never seen someone who has been faithful to God being a beggar or even his or her prosperity. So please, let's remain faithful and God will do his part. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for this session. It was so helpful. I was hesitating to ask this question, but I think I really need clarifications. Because some people say saving is not biblical. I think also somebody once said it here in the pulpit, and I was like, how should we go about it? If you could please clarify on that. This comes in regards to saving when somebody else is maybe sleeping on an empty stomach and you're sleeping on money that you're saving. And let's say you have a friend, or a neighbor. Let me not say in if statements. I do have a friend. She's struggling with life, and she's a very hardworking lady. She has a husband and 2 children. She's hardworking to the point that she even does these jobs of washing people's clothes, and they pay her money, and she's a university graduate. So sometimes when we talk, she tells me all her problems, and I feel like if I have money, I can give him like all the money I have. So if you haven't planned, or if you're in this journey of saving, you haven't planned for this, what can you do? Like, should you not help her because this was not in your budget? Or advise us on how to deal with that. Thank you. And her husband doesn't have a job. They're all jobless, so what can you do?
My sister, the truth of the reality is that the problems of this world, don't laugh. Kuko uzasanga hari n'umeze nabi kumurusha. Uzabishobora se? The truth is that the world is very unfriendly, and it's not fair. Let me use that term. The world is not fair because we find that somebody has struggled to make all ends meet for him or her to survive, and they find that things are not working out. Ariko noneho nawe, if you want to shoulder their problems, you will not manage. You will find yourself collapse. You will not achieve yourself, you will not save them to the level that you want them, but you will end up, so in whatever you do, in the other planning I was talking about, if you plan for that and say, this is the little I can afford, I need to save, the balance I remain with, the list of my expenses, there is this friend of mine that I need to support. And when you are supporting, you need to see what exactly are you trying to help. Because give them a bread, it might be that the much you have is just for a bread. But find a way, is there any other way you can use for them to be able to earn a bread by themselves? Kuko, the reality is, if you don't save, and by the way, take it that it is biblical, because you save not out of selfishness. The saving we are talking of is not just out of selfishness, just because you want to have that lifestyle of an Adventist that will not only help the neighbors. Do you know that you can have the influence you have in a community may not necessarily that you are giving them handouts. There is an influence you can do to your community just because of your lifestyle or how you live with them. If you are in a community, you have a means of transport, somebody is sick, you transport them to hospital, that's enough. Even if, otherwise, ushatse kuvuga ngo ibibazo by'abantu hanze aha ngaha uzabishyira ku murongo ku mutwe wawe, you will never, because the world is misery. And we are lucky for us, let me say that at least, nubwo waba ukennye uri umudivantiste, there is a way you manage bwa bukene bwawe. And you don't really become a burden, as I mentioned earlier on. So sister, in as much as you want to help those people, first see how yourself you will not fall in the same. Uracyari muto yego, ariko you need to plan for your future. You see? Sorry? So, please, help, but first see where do I want to go in the next 5-10 years. It is biblical. It's not biblical unless we know that God can provide. But still God has given us intellect and knowledge and wisdom and books. Na gitabo ndasoma kibuza umuntu kuba a good steward. And a good steward is not only returning tithe and offerings. No. It's how you yourself, you behave financially, socially, community, and your health. Ntabwo waba a good steward when you don't have good health. Never. So stewardship goes beyond fund management. And this is what we are Adventists, at least we know we are better than other churches, let me say, in that aspect. I may not be convincing enough, but the truth you need to first, it's not being selfish. You can help with the little you have. The good thing is the attitude you have. Urabikorana. That is it attitude of showing off? Is it attitude of really having sympathy for that family? And I'm sure God will find a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder. Maybe something else that might be interesting to mention, Elder Benjamin had mentioned it earlier, about having a purpose. So all these great ideas we're speaking about, such as savings and investments, may not be in the right context if you don't have a plan. So maybe something that was also slightly mentioned would be for us to first think about what is it that we want in the first place, right? So start with figuring out what you want or what you're aiming for, right? And it's okay if you spend most of the time doing that, even before you save or before you do your investments. I recall that because of a past experience from my current workplace where we're doing a strategic plan for an organization, and we went about it for quite about a while, just looking at how they can be better and trying to advise them on how they can strategically do more than what they're currently doing, until we reached halfway in the process and realized that we didn't spend as much time forcing them to really put a pen to the paper and decide where is it they want to go to begin with, right? So imagine you spend a lot of time investing and saving, but then there's no goal, right? There's no purpose. That way, it's hard to have a measurable plan, right? Because Elder Jonathan mentioned that our plans must be smart, so specific, measurable. So on the measurable aspect, for something to be measurable, it has to have a guideline or a criteria from which it follows, right? So it's important for us to also have a criteria. So what is it? Where is it you want to go in the next, maybe 1 year, right? Start small, and then 2 years. But then ultimately, where is it you want to go in your career, right? And then from that, then we can go on to find out which magazines should we subscribe to, right? We can go on to find out who should we be speaking to, which help should we be seeking, and what should I study in school, or which school should I go to? Will it help me to get there? As opposed to just saying, okay, I have 1 degree, I need to get to the next degree, I have to get the next degree. I have 1 job, I need to get a side job. Okay, that's nice. It's an instrument to get to somewhere, but where is that somewhere? So perhaps I just thought I could just drop that in so that we also spend time really focusing on what is it we want to do, and then we use the finances to help us to get there, as opposed to having financial management as a kind of as a bubble outside our goal. So is there any other question that we have in the midst? Yes. This one, Megan.
Thank you very much. I want to echo what Elder said about the question raised by one of the sisters about caring for the needy. I want to answer it by giving an example from those who have used the plane. There are safety regulations. And one of the safety regulations is about mothers who are having children in the plane. And they say in case of the accident, make sure you first take care of yourself, and after that, you take care of the baby. And some of you who are mothers here will know how much we treasure our babies. You want to first figure out what will happen with the baby before you take care of yourself. And because this baby is an infant, is not able to help you when you're in danger. So what you do, one of the rules is take care of yourself first and ensure that you're safe, and then the next is your baby. So as you want to help, yes, because that is part of being a good steward, but make sure that you're not in need, and then you're ending up in the same trap. I wanted to emphasize that. The other example I want to give is about one of the example I saw one of the government officials was presenting, and he was showing the curve of poverty, showing an example of people. You have a family, and one of the family member has climbed the ladder, and is a bit, has gone beyond the poverty kind of, that bad poverty, and is at least stable. But as that person is stable there, he is pulling so many people from down there, and is likely to be also, so you have to be very careful. This is something that is so challenging because our community has a lot of needy people. But how do you make sure that you balance so that you don't go back to the curve or you don't fall in the same trap where they are? I hope we'll have another session, and I really take this opportunity now that I still have the microphone to really thank our presenters. Thank you for accepting to generously present and give time to the youth and elderly who are here. And I don't know whether you've noticed that they are willing to even continue. So I think they deserve a hand clap. And above all, we pray a blessing upon you. May God bless you.
I'm sorry I'm back, but there's some burning issue I thought of. You see, Elder, you talked about when getting married, you used your means. You had the suit you kept for 2 years. I think these are stories we hear from the past generation, where I remember my father told me that when I was marrying your mother, I had 2 shirts, only 2 trousers, and a small room like this, and that's where we started from. But the reality is, right now, someone's daughter cannot go in that room. Even you, for me, if she's willing to come, I have no problem, but no one is willing to do that. So maybe we shall get another time to advise us on that for people who are looking for wives to get married. How do you, let's say for me, I am someone who is able to save. I have that discipline. During dating or during the courtship, it's not very easy to know the spending habits of someone. And then I don't want to go into the marriage, then I discover that this person is just using money anyhow. I don't know, maybe it's by chance. Or maybe I trust that this is an Adventist lady like me. She will know this. But I have a worry on the financial management. How do you know that this person, okay, maybe you can talk about it, but anyway, I don't know how you'll explain it.
As maybe as Elder comes, I'll also compliment on his question. Our elders, it's as if they never dated. They went from agreeing to marry to marrying. So there's no, but obviously I'm exaggerating, but you get what I'm saying. So in our generation right now, where we have to actually date, to actually, date people for a while before we get married, how do we manage our expenses? I think you understand.
Thank you very much, Bob and Enoch. So, Enoch, I get your concerns about getting a life partner who doesn't have the same spending habits like yourself. Let's cross the bridge when we get there. But let me warn you, it's most probably that you'll be attracted to a personality which is different from yours. Yeah. So if you are a good spender and well-disciplined, you will be attracted by someone who spends a lot. And that's how God teaches us in our weddings. I'm very grateful to the church. I got married, it was in October, and the first family life seminar was planned in November. From that seminar, I learned a lot, and whenever there is a seminar I attend, I'm among the first people to attend. One thing I learned from there, maybe, is that we were wired differently, men and women, and if we were wired the same way, we couldn't have families. So we are complementary in our differences. So don't worry, God will give you a life partner suitable for you, and if you are tough in your management, you need to relax a little bit to have an enjoyable life. So, yeah. And to the question of Bob, yes, it's good to get good time outside dating. Why should you go to buy a soda for 2,000 when there is a place where you can buy it at 300 francs? So you are destroying basically value. You know, by going to a place which is expensive, you don't increase your salary by the same amount, by the way. What you are destroying, in other words, it's your income. So we need really to be modest, considerate, and if you have someone forcing you to spend more than you earn, that's a red flag. So actually, and again, you will say that it belongs to the past. From me, I enjoyed going to the family of my wife to know them and to visit with them, to get well known. Of course, we had even other outings, but please remain within your settings and don't go extra mile by ruining yourself by spending more than. But please don't buy something that you can buy 1 franc you buy it at 5 francs. Otherwise, you won't be rational. And when you get married, actually you'll have conflicts because you have started on a wrong note. Thank you. I can see Elder is eager to compliment.
See, maybe we need a separate session for this. The problem you have, people are laughing, but I know the other people here who have similar issues with you. But the reality is, be who you are. Don't change. Because ntago ndibivugira ahangaha, but the truth of the matter is uko uzitwara, how you respect yourself, how you set your goals. I'm sure you'll get a lady who will suit you there. Now, just for one thing, maybe, but don't report to my wife. There is at least something which was almost ruining our relationship when I was courting her. We say we did. And one day, actually when we were almost there, she visited me. I was staying alone, but some girls from this church, I told her that, how will you manage that man? For one reason of the other, since 1989, that's more than 30, how many years, I don't know. I have not changed my shirt. That's more than 33 years. Yes. Now, I'm just telling you this. Now, some people had told her that, how will you manage that man who is always in white and black? And to tell you the truth, if you come to my wardrobe, you will find no other color. It is either black, white, and darker gray. Only those 3 colors. Ibyo byari bigiye kunyicira ubukwe. Now, but at least now, she came to love it. And if I happen to buy her a dress, I buy her my colors. She has accepted. Though she has that liberty to buy other colors. But you people, let it remain here. All right? But the truth is, remain who you are, how you spend. When you remain exactly, you don't try to pretend. You'll find a good lady. And I'm sure you ladies, you also like a person like that one. Isn't it? let's stop here. Bob, let us not divert from our, our original discussion. But if you want, I know even my brother here, Simeon, will tell you how he courted his wife and how he managed to convince her. I know he has a story also. Give us one afternoon and we discuss, and I'm sure girls here will like it. Thank you.
Thank you, elders. I think we're nearing the end of this program. Maybe if one person has a burning question, we can give them time. Is there a burning question? Yes, please. Peace has a large following, as you can see. She speaks for the people. Yes, please, tell us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, elders, for your sharing. It was very, very deep and helpful. Actually, I've not come to ask any questions, but I've come to share what I've learned from the four of you, so that maybe I can be able to, someone could pick from what I learned. When I learned from Elder Mubara, when he said, when we are just out of school, we can't buy experience. That's that's the lesson I got from you. We can't buy experience. We have to start from the smallest that is available as we learn and get experience, and then we can grow. I also learned from Jonathan. He emphasized that we should live within our means, because whatever you do to impress me, if you're out of your means, trust me, I'm not impressed. So it's better we do not go out of our hand to impress people out of our means. And that was a deep lesson for me. And Elder Ben also emphasized it, saying we use the money we don't have to impress people we don't love. Also, Elder Jonathan kept emphasizing that think about where you want to be in 10 years, in 5 years, and for me that is very deep. And what I take from that is whatever I have to do, whatever decision I take now, should be in line with where I want to be in 5 or 10 years. Elder Ben emphasized invest in ourselves to get more skills, because that's how we're going to be, our good skills can be exchanged for more, and that was still important for me. When you talked about peer pressure, Elder Ben, and not to be pressured to take loans to do things we're not sure of, that was still a good lesson for me. So I'm learning that if I want to really take a loan, I should be sure that I'm going to invest that money so well and I can make more good money out of it. And about investment, that's my last lesson. Jonathan, I promise you I'm coming for that one in the after class to learn how to invest our small monies and make more money out of it. Thank you so much. This has been so fruitful, and I'm so thankful to the youth department and the education department for creating these kind of sessions. We are waiting for more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Esther. Sorry, thank you, Peace. We thank the education department again, because it was really their plan and their idea. So thank you so much, Mamayan, for putting this together. And we thank our presenters again. Let's give them another round of applause. And as we've mentioned, I would like to have another session to discuss some of the things that couldn't be discussed on Sabbath, such as the many instruments that can be used to invest our money for those who need loans, and so on and so forth, how they can get them. And I'm sure the church will be supportive, and the education department will let us know what the best time for that will be. If there's no other burning question, perhaps we could have a song for our closing, And I don't know if we have any choristers in our midst. I think we can use the few talents God has given us. We can use the same song that we used when we were beginning, and that is, one second, 3:30. As we rise, let's sing hymn number 330. Can we have hymn number 330 projected, please? Take my life and let it be. Hymn number 330. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to Thee. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of Thy love, at the impulse of Thy love. Take my feet and let them be filled with beautiful for Thee. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King, always only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from Thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my will and make it Thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is Thine own, it shall be Thy royal throne, it shall be Thy royal throne. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at Thy feet its treasure store. Take myself and I will be ever only all for Thee, ever only all for Thee.
Kind and loving Father, we really want to thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity that you gave us today to come and fellowship together as a church. And Father, we thank you for all the lessons that we have learned here. Father, we thank you for every lesson that we have learned here, and we pray that you teach us to implement with a lot of wisdom from you. Father, as we part company and as we end the Sabbath day, Father, continue to bless each one of us and lead us safely. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Any concluding remarks, Mama Yan? Any concluding remarks? Perhaps you can close out the program. That's it? Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great Sabbath, everyone, and see you next week. Be blessed.